Hello everybody, so today I'm going to do an Orion Nebula processing sort of guide. There's like a million of them out there, but I thought I'd do one myself. So we're going to be using Deep Sky Stacker and Photoshop for this. I'll link Deep Sky Stacker in the description so you can download it. It's free. So this is my final image. It's nothing special, it's a bit too noisy to be honest, I need more data. But I was pretty happy with this. And then this was a single exposure. I was using the Canon 600D, a modified one. So that's why there's lots of this red, the hydrogen alpha. And the Skywatch 80 ED telescope, which it fits in the Orion Nebula really nicely, to be honest. It's a bit of a tight squeeze though. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to go to Deep Sky Stacker and you're going to press Open Picture Files, and you want to go to where you saved your picture files. So these are mine, and I'm just going to select all of them. If there's some bad ones in there, Deep Sky Stacker can sort them out. So I've opened them. Then if you took dark files, go and open your dark files for that night. So I've got mine here. Open all of them. I didn't do any flat files or offset files on this particular night. It could have made the image better, but I think I just wanted to get to bed. So after that you're going to press check all. You can see I've got 73 light frames, 19 dark frames. See how long my exposures were. So they were 91 second exposures, each of these. So about just under 2 hours worth of data here. So then you're going to press register checked pictures. I've got this on 95%. I'm normally quite happy with most of my images, so I just knock off the bad 5%, maybe the stars on streak or something. This I usually play about with. I usually try and get it to about 250 to 300 stars. Sometimes I go higher because if you can afford like waiting a few hours for your PC to stack it, you can wang it up so it's like 1,000 stars, but that's just obviously going to take longer. So then you press OK. It's going to bring this up. It's got a bunch of warnings because I'm not doing offsets and flats, but you can see 1 hour 48 there. Then you're just going to hit OK, and that's going to stack them for you. You don't have to do anything. So I've already got mine stacked. This is my stacked image. So I'm just going to take that into Photoshop and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is convert. Deep Sky Stacker spits out a 32-bit image, which doesn't. I'll show you some things. You can't get all of these, and it's just a bit weird. So you convert this to a 16-bit, and then turn that to exposure and gamma, and don't touch anything else. The next thing is you want to set your light and dark points. So for my light point, I picked this big bright star. You just put a colour sampler there. You right click on the eyedropper tool here and select colour sampler. For the dark point, I get a threshold layer, and I just take that, something like that, and then I just choose an area that's nice and dark like there, and have this on, normally I have that on 5x5 average. So then you can just delete the threshold layer. But something else, at this point I would not crop your image, because for me I have these short exposure ones because you'll see I'm going to blow this car out so much when I stretch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack these short ones and blend in the car, so you can see this. I'm going to blend this like no, not overexposed car into the overexposed one, but we need this overexposed one to pull out the details. So the first thing I'm going to do is press Ctrl L, and I'm going to sort these levels out. So I'm going to you need Info tab for this. So if you don't have Info tab, go to Window and just press Info, and it just comes up here. So Ctrl L. I'm going to try and bring my dark point, which is this one, down to about 30 to start with. Let's try 31. So bring each of these down to around 31. Something like that. Then we're going to do an initial stretch, so Control M, and just stretch this up. You can see the car's going to become super blown out. So something a bit like that. Control L again, and we're going to sort these levels out. This time I can't go quite as low, so I'm going to go to 60. You can already see the details really coming out. Just don't worry about blowing the car out though. So I think we can stretch that again, so Control M again. This time I'm going to do an S stretch, something like that, to pull the data up through the spike. So drag down the dark point, drag up the white point. That's really going to bring out a lot of detail. So pretty okay. Sort these levels out again. You don't want to clip too much data here. This white bit is your data, so you don't want to be clipping into it because you can see it just disappears. So come down nice and slow, and don't clip into it too much if you can help it. Something like that. So now I'm going to do, I think I'll do a camera raw filter now. I'm just going to control data to duplicate it, so if it goes wrong I can obviously go back nice and easily. So filter, camera raw filter, and then contrast normally brings the sky down really nicely without really cutting into your nebula. So that's something I normally do, just to take the dark around it down. And then highlights, it brightens up the nebula, but it's also killing that car. And I know I said I was going to blend it in, but I don't want to go too far because it's just going to be a harder job when I do choose to blend it in. So maybe plus 10. Shadows, that's going to bring down the sky, but this one's going to clip some of the nebula's faint details, so I think I'm just going to leave that there. Whites, I think I can get away with just turning that down completely and turning the car down. Blacks, I just leave that. Like clarity, this is going to really pop your nebula, but it's also going to clear up the sky, so you can just see here I've got a bit of dust on my camera somehow here, and that's just completely brought that out. But I'm going to clone stamp that later. You can also see I should have taken flats for this. I've got some vignetting going on here which could have been stopped with flats. Might turn dehaze up just a little bit, but I want to be careful with this because I know there's dust around this area which I don't want to be hiding. Saturation I'm not going to touch for now, I can selectively do that later. Detail, this can really this is one of the only nebulas I've really found turning that to 150 really helps. You can see if I turn it on, this bit here should have gone super sharp, but this does introduce quite a bit of noise, so I'm going to turn that to about 20 maybe this one at 10. I think that's a bit too high, maybe 10 for each. I'm going to try to sort out this, so I'm going to something a bit like that, looks a bit better. Okay. look how much difference that camera photo has made. That's insane. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try brighten up these out a bit. So I'm going to go and click this button and curves. I'm going to get this little handy tool. I'm going to select one of the really faint parts of it. So something here. I'm just going to pull that up and leave. Just pull that up a little bit. That looks okay. We've pulled that faint bit out quite a bit there, so I might turn that down to maybe 50% because that has got a bit crazy there. And then go Shift, Control, Alt, E. That's going to create a stamp layer. So it's just all of the layers under it, but in one. And I might do a luminance layer before that actually. So I'm gonna go Image, Mode, Lab Color. Because I've done a stamp layer, you don't have to merge them. But so go here. Then you want to select this lightness one here. You go to Channels, Lightness. Control A, Control C, and click back under Lab. Control D, so you've got a copy of the lightness layer. Then you're going to go Image, Mode, and go back to RGB. And I don't merge because I like to see all my layers at the end, so I can go through and see what I did. So you're going to press Control V, and that's pasted that lightness layer on top of your image. You're going to go here to Blending Mode, and you're going to change it to Luminosity. You can see that really pops the nebula there. But often it's quite strong. So I put a layer mask on, and I go to Brush Tool. Alright. And then I mask out everything but the nebula here by just putting black as my foreground colour on the layer mask and just painting over it here. Because luminosity can really lighten up your sky sometimes, which you don't really want. And even then, I think I might turn it down just a tad, maybe 60%. I like that. So now I think I'm gonna blend in my short stack. So I did this in Deep Sky Stacker the exact same way. Apart from I didn't use my darks for this because they need to be the same exposure. So this is a single. Oh, I didn't mean to open that. Show you a single exposure of my shots. So this was a single exposure because you see I'm trying to get this trapezium here. So File, Open, and I'm going to open my stacked image here. It's very red, so I'm just going to sort it out. This is due to the modded camera. Same thing, Image Mode, 16-bit. Exposure on camera. Sort the levels out, Control L, and just take them in. Probably do my colour sampler here. Boom. And then threshold. Boom. There. Control L. I'm going to take this down pretty far. Let's go to 30. 34, that'll do. I'm going to 29, so I thought I left down 34. Blue, back to 30 as well. There we go. And I'm actually going to stretch this just a tiny bit, just to get the car going. Go. So now I'm going to take this. I'm just going to stick it straight on top of this. Because they're the same camera and I haven't cropped, they should fit perfectly on. But you just want to line them up so you can see the stars are perfectly lined. So use your arrow keys, find a nice reference star. Like I'm going to use this one here, and you just want to put them straight on top of each other. Something a bit like that maybe. Then turn the opacity back up, and you want to mask this out, so I'm going to put that underneath. Then got your brush tool, put a mask on here using the layer mask icon. Brush tool, and you want to be really careful with this because you can make this look super weird, super fast. So I normally turn the opacity down, and then you can see I slowly try and bring this back. But you can't go too far because you see if I just took that out, that's not gonna look natural. So yeah, you want to be very, very, very careful with this. I don't like doing this. This is very subjective. Some people might not like this, but because you can definitely make this look a bit odd. Let's stretch this one just a tiny bit because that doesn't look quite the same. Like that. That looks a bit better. What was my something like this looking okay, to be honest. That's acceptable for me. But it's all up to taste, really. I kind of like that how it looks. It's hard to get this looking perfect, unless you could spend hours doing this and still not be happy with how it looks, to be honest. I think I'm going to leave it at that. You can spend longer, obviously, if you want to try and get that looking perfect. I'm going to press Shift Control Alt E, and that's going to create my stamp layer. Something I'm going to do now is I'm going to saturate this. So I'm going to go to Select, Color Range. I'm going to go and Sampled Colors, and I'm just going to click here. Try and select as much of this nebula as possible. Okay, so now that's selected, I can go Adjustment Layer and Vibrance. You can see I can brighten that up nicely. So I'm going to go maybe plus 40-ish on both. I like that. And then it doesn't look like it's selected the outer regions, so I'm actually going to just select them myself. You don't want to select your stars because they can become really, really overpowering. And I feel the Running Man Nebula here, I think that could do with a nice boost because this has really nice purple colours in it. So I'm going to individually do that. Put these up to about 40. But this time I'm going to press Control I, invert the layer mask. I'm using white as my foreground colour. I'm just going to paint on over the Running Man Nebula, just like that. See, that's just made that pop. So, Shift Alt Control E again. I always like to do this. I think we're going to do another camera filter. Contrast, you can't go as far this time, it's going into the nebula, unfortunately. Maybe about 20. Let's see how that looks. I like how that looks. I think this pink might be a bit overpowering, to be honest. Might change that real quick. I might turn the opacity of that down a wee bit. Maybe to 60%. Yeah, I like that a bit better. Camera filter again. So, contrast might go to about 20. Highlights. This time we've got to be careful about the core because we can't pop that because I've already blended them in. So I'm just going to leave that, to be honest. Shadows, you can see it's not cutting in, but it's going to take some of that brightness away from it. So I might just turn that all the way down, so it's not digging into any of the nebula. Whites, it's not really doing anything. I'll leave that at 0. Blacks is the same. I'll just leave that at 0. Clarity, you can see it really. You might like that. I personally don't, so I don't usually go that far. For more of a natural look, so maybe 25. Dehaze, kind of the same. Don't want to go too far. So, about 20. Let's see how that looks. You can see it's really sharpened these bits in the middle. I like that. Saturation, I may do a little bit here. So 8. Yeah, I like that. I leave curves, I do them separately. Sharpening, again, you can see this really makes this pop, but when you zoom in, you don't want all of that noise. And there's a way later on you can sharpen without introducing so much noise, so maybe leave that about 25. Noise reduction, I'll turn it up a bit. I do need more data for this, it's a bit too noisy at the moment for my liking. But I took this a while ago, and by now Orion is starting to sink below my house a bit too early to really get some nice time on this. So I might wait till next year to try and do this again. You can see how I did the this was my first ever try. Orion. This was with a unmodded camera, and this was my first ever try doing astrophotography. So you can see these were about a month apart. So hopefully in a year's time, I'll really be able to make this good. Colour mix, I leave that for astrophotography. Okay. Look at that. That has made so much difference. Next thing I'm going to do is the sharpening I talked about. Control J. I normally do that a few times because this can go really, really crazy if you're not careful. So filter other, high pass. It's going to make your image this grey colour, and it's going to make some bits stick out. If on there, you want to just try and make the parts of the nebula you want to sharpen come out. So I like this because I want to really sharpen this bit here, and the core here. We don't want to sharpen the skies or the stars or the sky, because that's not going to look good. So you leave that there, and then you have an option here. You can either go soft light or hard light, or if you really want vivid light, but I would not recommend that. So I normally go for soft light, because hard light just looks a bit too sharp for my liking. So soft light, and I normally still turn the opacity down because it's a very, very strong tool, that, so you can see before, after, it's just sharpened it up. This core has become a bit too blown out for my liking, but I would spend more time on that if I wasn't rushing for a tutorial. So I'm going to press Shift Alt Control E again on this, and I'm going to do another luminance layer, I think. So channels, Control A, Control C, Control D to deselect, and go back to RGB. Control V to paste. Luminosity. This time I'm going to mask out the core because I don't want the core becoming too bright. Make that a bit smaller. Mask that out. Try and blend it in a wee bit though, so it's just not sudden. And then also the sky. I don't want the skies to become too dark, too bright even. Something like that. I like that. Shift Alt Control E again. This time you can see I've got a bit of haziness going on, so I'm going to see if I can try and get rid of that. So I've just copied that twice, I'm going to go colour dropper tool, I'm going to click there, and I'm going to press Alt backspace. You want to be clicking on a bit of the sky that's like a bit too light for you. So normally you can use this to get rid of light pollution, but in this case I'm going to use it to get rid of this hazy sort of stuff around it. So click, then Alt backspace, and that's going to make the entire layer covered. Then click the layer below, and go Image, Apply Image, and you want to put this on Subtract. These I don't really touch these. Then I'm going to put OK. That hasn't really done too much for me, to be honest. Sometimes that is really effective, but other times I have to remove this manually, basically. And I do that by going curves, and I take this curve down, and I invert it, get my brush, and I just paint on where I want that darkness to be around. This can, and I'm going to actually blur this using Gaussian blur to make that less aggressive. So you don't really want this just popping out of nowhere, you kind of want it to fade in, but let's just leave that at that. So I think we're coming to about done on the creation of the stamp layer. I don't think I've got much more I can do. Alright, see if I can pull out a tiny bit more detail on the outside. No, it looks like I've got most of the detail, to be honest. This dust in the middle will come out with more data, obviously. That's what I want to try on my next attempt at this. I want to try and get this dust out. It's not looking too far off this one. The car's looking nicer on this one, and it's a bit sharper. But I spent more time on it, so that makes sense. I just do another camera off. We'll see what I can pull out. Contrast, that's not going to do much at this point. Should leave that again. Leave all of them this time. Might dehaze a little bit. Let's see. The further one you go, the more crazy this stuff is. You don't really want to touch it at that point. Far out, this looks okay. To go to 150, it looks like it's really sharpened it, but when you zoom in, it's just not worth it for the noise you're creating. So leave that about 10 this time, and put both of them up. I think we're coming to an end here. So this was my guide of how I personally process the Orion Nebula. This probably isn't the perfect way to process it. There's many guides out there, but this is just how I do it. So one more thing I'll do before. I'm going to do a star reduction just to show you how it's done. So select color range. This time you want to go to highlights, and it's okay selecting nebula because you can just deselect that pretty simply, to be honest. So something like that is going to select most of the stars. You can see we've selected the nebula there. So what I do, there's many ways to deselect it, but I get the magic one, quick selection tool even. Hold down Alt, which is going to remove it, and just paint over where I don't want this selecting. That's deselected all of it. You have to be careful and not deselect too much, or it doesn't like it and just gets rid of the entire selection. So something like that, then you go select, modify, expand, and you want to expand this so it's covering the entire star. That has gone crazy. Let's not do that. Modify, expand. Let's do it by 1 pixel there. I don't know why that is doing that, I'll be honest. Just deselect that real quick. That is weird. Might just leave it at that then. When you go filter, other, minimum. You can find a nice star. So I'm going to use this one here, and you can see what this does. is that? That is... There we go. So you can see it like pulls in. If you expand this, you can go further and like completely remove them. Because it's gone weird when I tried to expand it, I can't go that far. So that's just completely not worked. So let's just ignore that. I've got another example. I can probably show you how to do that. This one. This by far isn't my best image, but I'll show you how to do it. So, you know what? I'll just do it on this. So I go select color range. Okay, so I would deselect the nebula. And I don't want to get rid of the star cluster I've got here. And I would go select, modify, expand. And I was on 2 pixels, so you can see that's just expanded it. And go filter, other, minimum, and we should be able to see what it does. Yeah, look at that. You can get rid of the stars if you want to, but it's going to look a bit weird. So 1.5, that looks okay. You can see it just pops the nebulas out a bit more. I've obviously gone too far on that, but yeah, that's how you do it. So I think I'm about done here, to be honest. Yeah, let's leave it at that. So thanks for watching, I guess. So we've gone from this to this in about 10 minutes, so half an hour even. So that's good. Thanks for watching.